Hello, Power 1. It's Fearless Sean again, and I wanted to make this video quick, just because a lot of people since I've come back have been asking me like what, just like different stuff about PvP and how good was I at PvP back when I was active. So I just want to make this video talking about exactly what type of PvP player I was back when I was active. So here it is. All that I say will be based on just pure results. I mean, a lot of people might disagree with what I say and stuff like that, but just really based on results of what I've had in my, just all in all. So here it is. I started playing Parts 1 only a few months after the game came out. However, I was not really active in the PvP community except for maybe like a little over a full year, and I stopped playing about 8 months ago. So my biggest accomplishment in that I've gone to in PvP, it will always be my thing I'm most proud of, is when I made my clan the Storm Warriors. When I first made it, I was not good at PvP at all. No one knew about me really, and I just kind of kept at it, kept adding more members, and started learning more about PvP, and we just started getting a lot of success. And at the end, before I stopped playing and all that, my clan ended up having the second most clan battle success of any other PvP clan in the game, only behind League of Fury, which were 11-0. My clan ended up with an overall record of 13-1. Technically, it can be said it can be 13-2 because right before I stopped playing, or when I was in the process of quitting, Zoe was leading Storm Warriors, and we ended up doing a quick clan battle against Phoenix, in which Saint Newell ended up doing a musket charge strategy, ended up destroying us. So technically it could be considered Storm Warriors finished 13-2. However, under my leadership specifically, we were 13-1. So it just kind of depends on people's opinions, I guess. But either way, we had a second most success out of all clans. And yeah, it was definitely very good times. Now I guess I was always the leader of it. I'm also the one who led the 4 versus 4s, and I'm the one who sort of created a slightly different way of clan battling 4 versus 4s, a slightly different strategy, I guess. Is watching our battles is probably pretty boring to a lot of people, because the way that I would lead a clan is by saying, we're going to stay back, we're going to let them come to us, and we are going to use as many non-time limit spells as we can before they charge at us, which will be, we are going to use all of our musketeer bombs, all of our witch spells to get as much of a health advantage before the real battle starts as we can. We'll use all of our group heals, then do the 10 round buffs, etc., and go down the list like that. And that strategy definitely gave us a lot of success. And I was considered to be, there wasn't necessarily like, can't really say specifically who was the best strategist at 4 versus 4, because a lot of people could be considered for that. Because I know that I could be on the list along with Saint Newell, along with Jeremy Nichols, along with Leo, along with people from League of Fury, along with people from Envy, etc. But either way, I know I was definitely at the top of the list, somewhere in there, like, you can't really say specifically. And also, I'm the one who, of course, created that specific slight difference in clan battles, and more clans ended up adopting that along the way. And so now I'm going to talk about my specific classes and the success I've had in my certain classes. So Witch Doctor was my first class, and back then, because Witch Doctor was very hard to have success on, there was really only 3 really well-known and very good Witch Doctors. It was me, Jeremy Nichols, and Quentin, Stormy Quentin. Stormy Quinn's considered the best Witch Doctor in 1 versus 1. I would personally possibly consider him being the best 1 versus 1 player in the game. I mean, he's just an extremely good 1 versus 1 player. And I had slightly more success against Jeremy Nichols in the Witch Doctor 1 versus 1, so I would consider myself being number 2 and then him number 3. And then in Witch Doctors in Team Battle, Jeremy Nichols, definitely I would say number 1 on that list. He's just very good at Witch Doctors, you know, 2 versus 2 and 4 versus 4. Number 2 on the list was, I would say, is me. And then number 3, Quentin. Because Quentin, he just never really team fight that often. And I used my Witch Doctor, I don't know, I'll talk about that later. Anyways, now going to Privateer. Okay, sorry, I was looking in chat. Going to Privateer, I ended up being the probably a top 5 Privateer 1 versus 1. I'm not sure what they're talking about currently. But anyways, top 5. Number 1 on the list I know was Robert. He was a very good Privateer in 1 versus 1. Number 2 was Zoe's real life brother. I can't remember his name. I was somewhere like around 4 or 5, I believe, at the time. And so yeah, I was like probably the 4th best Privateer 1 versus 1, I'd say. Anyways, and also in team battles, I was probably along the same area, probably number 4 or 5. I can't really say specifically, but probably somewhere around there. And now for Swashbuckler, or no, Musketeer, sorry, Musketeer, I was probably, again, around 3 or 4 or 5 best Musketeer in 1 versus 1. Number 1 on the list was definitely Saint Newell. He is just an amazing Musketeer, and overall just best Musketeer, I'd say. Number 2 on the list would be Chinner's Evan Walker. He's the 2nd best Musketeer 1 versus 1, and that'll probably be number 3, 4, or 5, somewhere around there. And then in Musketeer and team battles, I would of course have to say Zane is the best Musketeer in team battles, 2 versus 2 or 4 versus 4. And also he's the one who really commonly did the musket charge strategy, which is what used to be Storm Warriors at one time, and he was just all in all very, very good at it. But in 4 versus 4, I actually created a slightly different strategy on Musketeer usage. In 4 versus 4, it's a more defensive style where you would put all of your Musketeer traps first in your powers list, and you would put them all in a row at the center part of the map, so then when people would charge you, they would step on traps and you'd get the health advantage. That was pretty effective when I used my Musketeer in clan 4 versus 4 battles. Definitely was good for when the other team was the one charging at us. So I would consider myself probably like a top 3 or 4 Musketeer in 5 versus 5. And now for Swashbuckler, Swashbuckler was my newest class. I only had it for maybe like 2 months before I stopped playing. I ended up becoming a top 10 Swashbuckler in 1 versus 1. At the time, the 3 top Swashbucklers, or I guess 4 top Swashbucklers at the time, were Lewis, Lucas, Zoe, and Harry. All 4 of them pretty even when it came to 1 versus 1 and team battles. Pretty hard to really say specifically, but I was probably somewhere around top 10. I had some success against them, but usually I would get murdered. But so I ended up getting pretty good at those. Anyways, and for team battles, I did not really use my Swashbuckler very much in 4 versus 4, 2 versus 2, but I still did have a success the few times I did do that. So again, probably like top 10 Swashbuckler in team battles, somewhere around that. And now for Buccaneer, I never liked the class really because it did not fit my playing style. Like, I had one maxed from when Mushi was the max level, but I never actually maxed it to level 65. It's still not maxed today. I probably will eventually max it, but currently it's not. So, so that's sort of the success I've had in my particular classes. However, even though Jeremy, for example, or Sane were both better in team battles on that specific class, what made me very good in 4 versus 4 is not only me with making the strategy and also leading the team, but also I could use 4 different classes in the team battles depending on what we would need against the other team. Along with, I was just very good at planning everything out, even before the battle started. So that's what made me very good at leading 4 versus 4 clan battles. And now a quick thing about 2 versus 2. Me and Zoe also became one of the top 2 versus 2 teams at the time. We ended up winning a match against Jeremy and Sane in a match that really we should have lost. I played terribly in that battle, but Zoe ended up barely winning it at the end. We also had a win against Robert and Lewis in the 2 versus 2. But all in all, there's probably 4 different 2 versus 2 teams that were all very close to each other at the top. At the best team, it would be the 4 teams were Zane and Jeremy, me and Zoe, Techno Mage, also known as the Feisty Orange, and Sean Walker, and also Alex and Sierra from Envy. All 4 of those teams are all very good. At the time, you can't really say which team was the best out of those 4, so those are just pretty much the 4 top teams. And now, there's a lot more I wanted to really say about this, but all in all, that's the different success I've had in all of my classes and everything. I will never be as good of a player now as I was back then. I'm never going to be able to be that successful, nor will I be able to put that much work into it, I think. But right now, I'm not really too caring about the PvP in itself right now. I mean, I'm of course going to be doing PvP, and I want to be helping other people learn more about PvP, especially possibly helping other clans. As of right now, I don't think I'm going to bring my clan back to Storm Warriors. I just really don't know if I want to get back into the clans, because as much as I enjoyed leading my PvP clan, as much fun as I had, as much success as we had, at the end, there's just so much drama caused by all of the clans that it was part of the reason why I started just kind of getting tired of the game. So as of right now, as much as I enjoy talking about the other PvP clans right now, and as much as I'm tempted to sort of go back into that, I really do not want to as of right now. But I can't remember. I really cannot remember what that name is. But anyways, there's a lot more I wanted to say here, but I've pretty much kind of forgotten a lot of it. But yeah, that's sort of my previous PvP knowledge, along with the success that I've had. A lot of people may disagree with it, but that's really just based on the results of what I had. And yeah, I mean, I was just overall, I guess, for the PvP knowledge back then, you know, definitely high up on the list for just not only most active, but also just most knowledgeable of all the PvP players during that time. But of course, I'm definitely not the same player anymore. I'm never going to be. But yeah, that's just sort of talking about, you know, the type of player I was. So even though I'm definitely frustrated that I cannot remember everything else I was going to say, that's at least you know, that's at least something, I guess, for what I wanted to talk about. So either way, I'll have my next video coming up soon.